Coming up on Chris 6 Sunrise, the United States struck 3 nuclear sites in Iran over the weekend. Scripps News Group Joe St. George is going to have the latest for us.
And here at home, changes could be coming to Kingsville after recall petitions have been filed for the removal of 3 city commissioners. What the 3 did that led to the possible removal. Plus,
fewer customers, fewer sales. I'm Ana Conejo on the west side speaking to a business who tells me immigration crackdowns are hurting the restaurant industry hard.
good morning, folks. Happy Monday and welcome to Chris 6 Sunrise. You're waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. Well, I'd like to introduce all of our 6 o'clock viewers to our new-ish, our new morning meteorologist. Hey, Julia Quiddy, it's official now. You're stuck with the Hoffmans, huh?
But it's so funny though, because obviously I fill in quite frequently whenever Stephanie would have some scheduled time off, so it doesn't feel too different. It's just now it's just going to be more permanent where you guys see me every morning.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Great to have you.
I'm happy to be here with you guys, and good morning, y'all folks watching at home. Of course, you want to know what type of conditions you expect weather-wise heading out towards the door, and I'll have more details on that in just a moment. Right now, let's go ahead and take a look at traffic conditions across the area. Right now, looking at our view from our traffic flow map, moving from Portland heading towards the Harbor Bridge. Both directions there looking to be very clear, so you got easy driving conditions heading out the door if you plan on making that trip. Moving now towards downtown, heading on Ocean Drive down to SPID and Saratoga. All 3 of those roadways looking to be very clear this morning with no hiccups or traffic issues to be reported on right now. Moving now towards over to Flower Bluff. Again, clear roadways happening on Waldron Road and on Flower Bluff Drive. Just a bit of a small, tiny bit of congestion that you'll start to see when you approach the gate at NAS Corpus Christi. But other than that, again, all in all, looking at pretty easy driving conditions across the area this morning. Now taking a final look, heading on over towards the JFK Causeway, going to and from the island. Again, no traffic issues there as you're looking at all shades of green there, meaning that traffic flow is going to be moving in a great direction if you have to head out the door right now. Now, more details on your forecast where you can expect a little bit more of the same type of conditions that we had last week. I'm talking more heat, more humidity, and still daily rain chances in the forecast. I'll have the details on that coming up in a few minutes.
Alrighty, Julia, thank you so much. We'll get to your neighborhood news in just a bit, but first, President Donald Trump says U.S. attacks on Iran's nuclear sites inflicted monumental damage. U.S. military officials say American stealth bombers carrying 30,000 pounds of bunker buster bombs were used to hit underground nuclear facilities over the weekend. Satellite images show the aftermath of U.S. strikes on 3 key sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. Trump says the biggest damage took place far below ground level. U.S. defense officials say the initial damage assessments indicate there was extremely severe damage and destruction. Now, the Department of Homeland Security warns of heightened threats in the U.S. after the airstrikes on Iran. The department says low-level cyber attacks against U.S. networks are likely and warns the threat of violence would likely increase if Iranian leaders issue a religious ruling calling for retaliatory attacks against targets in the U.S. The new bulletin also warns of the possibility of more anti-Semitic attacks in this country. Scripps News Group's Joe St. George will join us at 6:12 for the latest.
Back here at home, happening today, the Kingsville City Council will discuss the recall petition for 3 city commissioners. The petition seeks the removal of city officials Norma Nelda Alvarez, Hector Hinojosa, and Leo Alarcon. So the our neighborhood news reporter, Stephanie Molina, reported last week that there are enough signatures to do a recall election. According to the petitions, the reason for the potential removal is due to the commissioners participating in unprofessional conduct and behavior, targeting staff, neglecting city policies and procedures, and neglecting fiscal responsibilities. Stay tuned to Chris 6 on air and online for the very latest.
Tomorrow, the City Council is expected to get a briefing on a proposal to create TERS 7 for the London area. A TERS is a way to create funding for projects in a specific area of the city, and the funding comes from the value of taxable property in the TERS. TERS 7 would fund development of about 5,200 acres of mostly undeveloped land. Funds generated by the TERS would pay for things like roads, utilities, stormwater management, parks, trails, and public areas.
Fewer Fewer customers, fewer sales. I'm Ana Conejo on the west side speaking to a business who tells me immigration crackdowns are hurting the restaurant industry hard. Employees in the Nuevo San Blas in the west side say they're used to seeing waves of crowds. But after immigration crackdowns in the area, they say sales are down and there's a shortage of staff. The Texas Restaurant Association says immigration crackdowns have customers scared to eat out. Local businesses say they will have their doors open in hopes sales rise again and the fear disappears.
I'm Tony Jaramillo, your neighborhood news reporter on the south side, where new subdivisions are planned, but two developers want to do some downsizing on part of the plan, and it's raising questions on how that will impact future traffic in the area. The plan to downsize several future roads in the London area cleared its first hurdle at City Council, impacting two major developments, Mirabella and Kings Lake West. Instead of 4-lane roads known as C3 collectors, two developers are asking for narrower 2-lane C1 collectors. That means less construction costs and more space for homes. Why? The developers conducted a traffic study, and they say based on the lot size, they predict less traffic in the area. According to the city, a C3 road sees up to 14,000 vehicles a day. A C1, 8,000. Some on council worry that making a change to fit what developers have already designed doesn't take future growth into consideration. The second and final vote on this item is expected to take place on Tuesday, June 24th. On the south side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Hey there, good morning. Happy Monday. Right now, we're taking a view from our sky cam where you can see a little bit of that mixture of some cloud cover right now in our skies that will begin to break apart line for more mostly sunny conditions by the time we head towards later on this morning and definitely by the time we head towards this afternoon. Right now, let's go and take a look at our current conditions across the area. Here in Corpus Christi, sitting at 77 degrees, 76 over in Beeville, 83 in Port Aransas, 77 is your temperature over in Alice, 81 over in the Bluff. Across the coastal bend, looking at fairly calm winds just coming in barely around 10 miles an hour over in Port Aransas, a little bit above that, but most of us again looking at very light and variable winds across the area. Now winds will begin to pick up later on this afternoon, starting to reach towards 15 miles an hour, but right now off to a calm start with those lighter wind speeds for us this morning, where again we're looking at a mixture of some cloud cover still hanging on tight in our skies that will start to break apart, eventually allowing for mostly sunny conditions over the course of our day. Looking at that moisture and humidity, that's going to add towards why things will still be feeling pretty hot across the area. Definitely as we head towards midday, we'll start to see those temperatures reaching towards those 90s, and then also those feel-like temperatures also starting to approach those triple digits. So these are the type of conditions you can expect heading out the door over the next few hours. Again, by 8 o'clock this morning, we'll see those temperatures reaching towards those lower 80s, upper 80s by 10 o'clock, and all throughout the course of our afternoon, temperatures reaching well towards those lower 90s. Thankfully, just near average temperatures, so nothing extreme or out of the ordinary for where we should be for this time of year. But those feel-like temperatures, again, will still be towards that oppressive zone, reaching towards those triple digits across the area by 2 o'clock this afternoon. And even by 5, 6 o'clock this evening, we'll still be looking at those feel-like temperatures, still hang on to that same range in the upper 90s to lower 100s. So just make sure you're staying hydrated, drinking plenty of water, keep yourself safe. Now, daily rain chances are still going to be consistent in our forecast this week, similar to last week. But again, they're going to be slim to none, not looking very likely, at least for us on this Monday. Maybe a small dip of a chance coming in for coastal neighborhoods like Corpus Christi ahead for us this afternoon. And then maybe greater chances for maybe rainfall activity coming into the forecast. Again, stray in nature, though, overnight to the early morning hours on your Tuesday. Looking at 7-day forecast, nothing too extreme going on with our 7-day forecast in the area. Still see, again, near average temperatures in those lower 90s with daily rain chances will continue.
Thanks, Julia. Coming up after the break, Scripps News Group Joe St. George has the latest on this weekend's attacks and how the Iranian parliament has responded. Welcome back, folks. The U.S. attacked 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend in what the Pentagon called Operation Midnight Hammer. President Trump saying the U.S. attacks inflicted, quote, monumental damage.
We have our Deputy Political Director, Joe St. George, joining us live now this morning. Good morning, Joe. So the Iranian parliament has responded to these strikes by voting to close the Strait of Hormuz. Can you explain why the Strait of Hormuz matters right now?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about all the risks facing the United States, because I think this is the big question this Monday morning, is how does this impact all of us? How does this impact family members? Remember, so much of what happens next is going to be driven by how Iran responds to what President Trump ordered over the weekend. And we don't have a clear picture of the Iranian response right now. Risk number one, before we get to our pocketbook and the price of gas, it's American military in the region. If you have a loved one serving in the Middle East right now, you're worried about their safety. How could you not be? There's around 40,000 or so members of the U.S. Armed Forces based in the Middle East in countries like Bahrain, Iraq, other countries, United Arab Emirates, for instance, all are on heightened security risk after the decision by President Trump to bomb Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran could strike American assets in the region. An Iran-linked group like Hamas or Hezbollah could also stage an attack. So that's a risk this morning. Risk number two, no doubt, this morning is on all of us, American citizens. The Department of Homeland Security, the Department of State, they've issued security bulletins over the weekend following the bombings in Iran. The Department of Homeland Security describing right now an increased threat environment in the U.S. for a possible attack. The Department of State issued a rare warning to citizens traveling overseas. It is vacation season, after all. People are overseas. That there could be increased demonstrations. And now to the question that you posed at the top, the Strait of Hormuz, why does this matter here? This is all about oil prices. This is about the price of gas. And this is very possible one means in which Iran could respond to the American attack. The Strait of Hormuz is a body of water partially controlled by Iran. If Iran does anything to impede the shipment of oil out of that region, well, it could send the price of gas soaring. Around 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz each and every year. So this is not just a little bit of oil we're talking about. This is a significant passageway, a significant way that oil gets out of the Middle East to all of us. Again, Iran could impact that Strait of Hormuz. So these are all the storylines, the possible responses that we're watching, in addition to the possibility of cyber attacks. Again, unclear how Iran will react and formally respond to President Trump's directive. As far as President Trump goes, he will be meeting with his national security team a little bit later today.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for tracking this information.
Yeah, a lot to take in, sir. Look forward to you speaking to you again very soon.
Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. So waking up today is going to be pretty similar forecast-wise to what we saw last week and even this past weekend here in the Coastal Bend. We'll still be looking at heat being part of our conversation. Of course, we're in the midst of summertime now, so we can expect that South Texas heat to really get intense at times for us in the area. Also, we're still tracking daily rain chances that are going to be lagging in from this past week too. So go ahead and get into some of those details we can expect for your forecast in this next week. Again, things are going to be hot and humid for us with the increasing moisture and humidity. That's actually going to tie towards our daily rain chances are set to continue and maybe improve a bit and maybe look less stray in nature for us tomorrow and as we look ahead towards your Wednesday. And also, along with that heat and humidity, things are going to still be looking near normal. Still will have pretty near average temperatures here in the Coastal Bend pretty much all this week. Now, of course, normal for us at this point will still be those temperatures reaching towards those lower 90s as they will by the time we head towards this afternoon. So heading towards noon, and by the time we get towards 1 and 2 o'clock today, temperatures will be well towards our afternoon high of 92 degrees. Feel like temperatures ranking way above that in towards those triple digits. So again, things will still be very warm and muggy all throughout the Coastal Bend this morning and heading towards this afternoon. But again, we're not looking at anything extreme here. We'll still be nearby that average that we should be seeing for our high temperatures here in the Coastal Bend for this time of year. Heading towards June, again, things should be heading with those high temperatures in those lower 90s, and that's exactly where we expect for our temperatures to sit today. So again, nothing to be too concerned about there on that front. Now on our rain chances, again, those will still be daily for us. Now, likely and daily are two separate things here. There's still going to be that chance in the forecast, but is it likely? Today, quite frankly, no. We'll be looking at maybe a small bump of an increase, maybe a stray shower coming on in for coastal neighborhoods, areas that are just along the coast, heading towards later on this afternoon. But after that, things looking to be pretty dry over the majority of our day on this Monday. But with that increase in moisture that's going to come on in as we head towards tomorrow and on our Wednesday, especially with that darker plume coming in for areas that are further up north on your Wednesday, that's what's going to contribute towards maybe better rain chances ahead for us just heading towards the midweek. But again, daily rain chances are still going to be there. Whether or not it's going to be likely, that's just going to be remain to be seen for us, because those Showers are just forecasted right now to be stray, maybe isolated at best throughout some portions of our week heading into the coastal bend here. But looking at your 7-day forecast, again, looking at near average temperatures towards those 90s with daily rain chances that will set to continue all week.
There's a new captain on the water this summer. I'm Erin Holly in Port Aransas, introducing you to a new pirate ship captain who's making waves in the boating community.
Welcome back, folks. With attention to the Middle East and the potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz, who deals with about 20% of the oil all across the world. I'm tracking those gas prices, which are expected to go up and already have gone up in some areas. We'll get to that in a bit. But first, taking a look at the national average. I'm not too sure if this is actually caught up quite yet, but according to Gas Buddy, it's $3.19. That is no change as of Friday. As for Texas average, we're looking at $2.84. That's actually up by just 1 cent since Friday. Again, I'm not sure if those prices have caught up quite yet because we've already seen a 10% increase in the cost of a barrel of oil. So for Corpus Christi, third place goes to the Walmart on Flower Bluff, $2.83. Second place goes to the Stripes on Saratoga and Staples, $2.71. And then first place, cheapest place in Corpus Christi, at least $2.70 at the Murphy Express on Saratoga and Airline. Hey, our Portland friends saw the biggest jump. This is the one that I'm actually talking about. The Murphy USA near Walmart is the cheapest. We're sitting at $2.69. But on average, that area for Portland, that's gone up by 47 cents just since Friday. So we saw the prices increase there. What about our island friends? If you are heading out there, $2.82. That's surprisingly gone down a little bit over the weekend. I don't expect that to stay, though. That's over at the Valeros, both on SPID and YCAP, as well as 361 and Piper. As always, if you can find cheaper prices than any of those that I mentioned, might be worthwhile stopping and filling up. And with prices expecting to go up later on this week, if not today, might be worthwhile filling up now while you can.
All right, now taking it outside, looking at our First Community Bank Sky Cam atop the USS Lexington, looking at a bit of a mix of some cloud cover in our skies waking up this morning on this Monday. Traffic flow-wise, things are moving pretty well on the Harbor Bridge right now. Let's go and take a look at those traffic flow maps to get a better idea we can expect on other roadways hitting the road right now, starting for your morning commute. Going from Portland over to the Harbor Bridge, we saw on our Sky Cam things are moving pretty well, so we can see that being represented on our traffic flow map here too. Moving now towards downtown, all clear on Ocean Drive down to SPID and Saratoga. No traffic hiccups or issues on any of those three roadways heading out the door this morning, thankfully. Moving now towards Flower Bluff, we can see a little bit more heavier congestion happening throughout portions of Waldron Road, all clear on Flower Bluff Drive, and then heading on towards the gate at NAS Corpus Christi, a little bit of minor congestion that you might start to see build up over the course of our morning. And then heading on towards the JFK Causeway, going to and from the island, again looking at easy driving conditions heading in that way. That's it for Traffic Report. More details in your forecast coming up.
I'm Tony Jaramillo on the south side. The road that I'm standing on is defined as a Collector 1, and this is a Collector 3. I'll tell you about the differences and how it could change the feel of a London neighborhood.
Now, weather on the 6s.
Good morning, happy Monday. Right now we're taking a live look at our studio sky cam. We can see a bit of a mixture of that cloud cover right now, still hanging on strong for us right now. It is going to break apart, allowing for more sunshine later on this morning and heading towards this afternoon, allowing for all that heat and humidity to increase our air temperatures and our feel like temperatures back up towards those 90s and those triple digits. But our weather pattern right now is going to be pretty similar to what we saw and experienced over this past week and over the weekend. It's still going to be hot and humid here. We'll see increasing moisture still sticking around the forecast. That's going to actually add towards our daily rain chances that are also lingering over from this past week and over the weekend. And we'll also still be looking at pretty near normal and average temperatures here in the coastal bend. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be hot and humid here, but we won't seeing anything out of the ordinary for what we should expect for this time of year, at least here in South Texas. So let's go ahead and get into some more of those nitty-gritty details for your forecast today. First, taking a look at that planner, we can see temperatures starting to make their way towards those lower 80s by 9 o'clock this morning. We'll see a gradual increase with those wind speeds as well. Right now, fairly light and calm, barely making it towards 10 miles an hour. That will start to make its way towards that number and beyond by the midday. And we'll also see those winds pick up to nearby 15 miles an hour by this afternoon. Also see an increase in our temperatures reaching towards our afternoon high of 92 degrees. So we'll be looking at mostly sunny skies for the most part for us today. So again, near average temperatures, nothing too extreme at all for where we should be for this time of year here in the coastal bend. Temperatures should be reaching towards those lower 90s, and that's exactly where we're going to find ourselves for our afternoon high temperatures. But we can't say quite the same thing for our feel like temperatures. Those will still be ranging towards those triple digits here, and that's going to be quickly making their way towards that number over the course of our midday hours and heading towards the afternoon. Now for our rain chances, again, those will still be in the forecast technically, but they just won't look likely here for us on our Monday. Maybe see a small pop-in shower over the course of our afternoon for areas that are along the coast. Better rain chances will be ahead for us late tonight, heading to the overnight hours on our Tuesday. Again, stray in nature, maybe better chance to see some more isolated showers ahead for us on our Wednesday, when that next round of moisture coming in from the western part of the Gulf will start to push its way here into the coastal bend, helping us out with our rain chances that will look a little bit more likely ahead for us on Tuesday and on our Wednesday. So looking at moisture tracker, we can see those darker hues of green that's going to start to come on in, really going areas that are closer towards the Victoria Crossroads area. Not really too much for us here in the coastal bend, but just enough to maybe see a couple, again, pop in stray, maybe at best isolated showers that can make their way into the area for us over the course of our week. Now, again, we'll see here, daily rain chances are in the forecast, but it's just going to be a similar picture to what we saw over this past week. It's just not going to be likely, and we're not going to see true rainfall accumulation here that's going to be really beneficial and maybe truly help us out with anything like our lake levels or truly our drought conditions. But any rain is better than nothing for us, so I think we'll just take what we can get here. Looking at our 7-day forecast, we'll still see those temperatures ranging towards near average, still going to be in those lower 90s. Feel like temperatures still ranging towards those triple digits, so make sure you're still staying hydrated, drinking plenty of water. Keep that umbrella in hand just in case some of those pop-in showers start to make their way through the coastal bend, especially head for us tomorrow and heading towards your Wednesday.
I'm John Matteries. Dining out is becoming more and more expensive these days, but I'll show you some ways to trim that restaurant bill and still have a good meal.
And coming up on Sunrise, need something to keep the kids busy this week? Well, we have a look at a free event going on for kids in Gregory.
Now, say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Hello, Chris 6 Sunrise team.
We're Toloso Midway's Glam Studio in the Annabelle neighborhood, and we want to wish our neighbors across the coastal bend a great day.
Ooh, the Glam Studio looking good this morning. We hope you guys also have a great day. And folks, if you want to send us your own shout out video, all you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen or go to our website, christv.com.
Happening today, the head of the International Olympic Committee is getting ready to hand over the reins to a new president. Thomas Bach of Germany will officially hand over the presidency to Christy Conventry of Zimbabwe during a ceremony in Switzerland. It's all happening today. Now, Bach has served as the IOC's president for the past 12 years. Conventry was elected to head the committee back in March. She's a former Olympic swimmer who wants to focus on international cooperation. She's the first woman and the first African to lead the committee.
Now, we're officially in our first full week of summer, and in the small city of Gregory, kids have something special to look forward to while school's out. Take a look.
We're very proud of Gregory. Citizens are very happy to live here, and we just need to show it out.
Sylvia Ochoa is a proud longtime resident of Gregory. Over a decade ago, she found GIVE, short for Gregory Independent Volunteer Establishment.
GIVE's mission statement is to have activities in our community to lift its morale.
And this summer, that mission continues with a long-standing tradition at Our Children's Park.
This is the only park we have in our community.
GIVE is hosting Summer in the Park, a free event for children from kindergarten through 5th grade.
Their parents can come and drop them off or stay with them at the park. And we have activities, sport activities, crafts. Mr. Kippy is going to be one of our special guests.
The event runs through Tuesday, June 24th through Friday, June 27th from 5 to 8 p.m. each evening. Ochoa says the event wouldn't be possible without the support of volunteers and the Gregory community.
We're just want to encourage our children that we care for them.
And no pre-registration is required. Ochoa says families can simply show up and join in on the fun.
All right, now taking a quick look at your forecast for today. Looking at the planner, we can see things are going to be off towards a bit of a cloudy start, then allowing for more sunny skies later on this morning, heading towards this afternoon. Temperatures will eventually reach towards those upper 80s by midday, and then we'll see our afternoon high temperatures being reached around 1 and 3 o'clock this afternoon. Afternoon high temperature of 92 degrees. We'll also see our wind speeds begin to pick up over our afternoon too, reaching towards 15 miles an hour by our peak afternoon hours around 3, 4 o'clock today. So again, looking at things being fairly comfortable for us in the coastal bend. Small chance to see a couple stray showers pop in through here and there for areas that are along the coast. Not looking really likely. Better rain chances will be ahead for us tomorrow and on Wednesday with our next round of moisture coming in from the Gulf. So it's going to allow us to see maybe a better chance of more stray to maybe at best maybe isolated showers to come into the forecast for us again tomorrow and on Wednesday. But beyond that, daily rain chances will continue similar fashion that we saw last week. And we'll also see our temperatures remain to be towards that range that we should be seeing for this time of year, in towards those lower 90s, eventually reaching those mid 90s ahead for this upcoming weekend.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Hey folks, thank you so much for tuning in for 20 minutes of non-stop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. We'll check in with meteorologist Julia Quady in just a bit. But first, recent social media posts about a, quote, large fracture beneath the New Harbor Bridge have been circulating all over, right? But TxDOT says it is not a crack and that it's its definitive conclusion. Ricky Daly with TxDOT sent me a statement saying Flatiron Dragados launched an investigation last Thursday, and they used specialized camera equipment inside the segment and exterior drone shots to observe the site in question, a weep hole on the South Approach Bridge. Now, TxDOT says the hole is peeling paint, which was applied in an area where moisture was present and not completely dry. Now, last week, crews set up scaffolding to address this, and TxDOT says this was purely a cosmetic issue. The repainting is complete, and it's assuring the public that the new bridge is structurally safe. In closing, Daly says their team looks forward to opening the New Harbor Bridge to traffic soon.
And hey, make sure you tune in Saturday for our team coverage of the debut of the Harbor Bridge. We're going to be live from the Port of Corpus Christi Pavilion with reports on the ribbon cutting ceremony for the New Harbor Bridge. It all starts Saturday at 9:30 in the morning.
Fewer customers, fewer sales. I'm Ana Conejo on the west side speaking to a business who tells me immigration crackdowns are hurting the restaurant industry hard. Employees in the Nuevo San Blas in the west side say they're used to seeing waves of crowds. But after immigration crackdowns in the area, they say sales are down and there's a shortage of staff. The Texas Restaurant Association says immigration crackdowns have customers scared to eat out. Local businesses say they will have their doors open in hopes sales rise again and the fear disappears.
All right, now taking it outside, looking at our view from our Skycam over top SPID. You can see things are looking pretty calm on those roadways. So if you have to head out the door already at this hour, looking at a pretty easy drive right now, heading on SPID for the most part. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of our traffic flow maps to get a better idea you can expect on the other roadways right now at this hour. Hammer Portland over to the Harbor Bridge. Again, things are looking to be pretty clear. Moving now towards downtown, all clear on Ocean Drive down to SPID and Saratoga with no traffic issues on any of those roadways. It's everything moving clear and easy on those roadways right now. Heading on over towards Flower Bluff. Again, pretty much the same picture here, looking at a little bit of a small blip of some traffic flow that may be a bit more congested at times, heading on Waldron Road and on Flower Bluff Drive, heading in both directions there. And as you start to approach the gate at NAS Corpus Christi, some morning hours, pretty much the norm here. You start to see a little bit more congestion happening throughout that area as well in the morning hours. Then heading on to the JFK Causeway, going to and from the island. Again, looking at easy driving conditions for your morning commute. That's it for your traffic report. The details of your forecast coming up.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
All right, folks, 6 things you need to know before heading out the door. President Trump says U.S. attacks on Iran's nuclear sites inflicted, quote, monumental damage.
U.S. military officials say American stealth bombers carrying 30,000 pounds bunker buster bombs were used to hit underground nuclear facilities over the weekend. Now, satellite images show the aftermath of U.S. strikes on 3 key sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. Trump says the biggest damage took place far below ground level. U.S. defense officials say initial damage assessments indicate there was extremely severe damage and destruction.
The Department of Homeland Security warns of heightened threats in the U.S. after airstrikes in Iran. The department says low-level cyber attacks against U.S. networks are likely and warn the threat of violence would likely increase if Iranian leaders issue a religious ruling calling for retaliatory attacks against targets in the U.S. The new bulletin also warned of the possibility of more anti-Semitic attacks in this country.
World leaders from 32 nations are getting ready to head to Hague for the annual NATO summit this week. The summit is expected to focus on everything from NATO military presence in the Middle East to cyber defense and conflicts that have risen around the world. President Donald Trump is expected to deliver a speech at the summit on Wednesday. He has been pushing for NATO nations to spend more on their military readiness. As a result, the 32-member alliance has pledged to dramatically increase its defense spending to 5% of its GDP.
Well, the Senate is expected to hold a test vote this week on President Donald Trump's spending and domestic policy bill, also known as the Big Beautiful Bill. The president has dubbed this legislation. It would extend Trump's tax cuts he signed into law during his first term and provide more money for defense and border security and reduce the power of the courts to protect some constitutional rights. It also would make deep cuts in federal spending and some changes to Medicaid while increasing the deficit by trillions. The Senate is expected to debate the bill once it comes to the floor.
Governor Greg Abbott vetoed Senate Bill 3, the state ban on THC products, late Sunday night. Abbott is calling for a special legislative session on July 21st, and he's asking lawmakers to strictly regulate the substance instead. Now, Senate Bill 3 would have banned consumable hemp products that contained any THC, including Delta 8 and Delta 9.
Well, the Kingsville City Council will discuss the recall petition for 3 city commissioners. The petition seeks to remove the city officials Norma Nelda Alvarez, Hector Hinojosa, and Leo Alarcon. So a Neighbor News reporter Stephanie Molina reported last week that there are enough signatures to do a recall election. According to the petitions, the reasons for the potential removal is due to the commissioners participating in unprofessional conduct and behavior, targeting staff, and neglecting city policies and procedures, and neglecting fiscal responsibilities. Be sure to stay tuned to Chris 6 on air and online for the very latest.
Hey, happy Monday. So heading out the door, things are going to be very muggy here in the coastal bend, but we know it's summertime, so those are the type of conditions we can expect here in South Texas. It's going to stay hot and muggy here, but thankfully what we can expect, at least temperature-wise, heading towards this afternoon, will still be near average here, so things won't be abnormal at the very least in terms of our weather conditions. Right now, taking a look at our current dew point values, this kind of explains part of the picture of why things are going to continue to be muggy and humid here. We'll still be looking at our dew point values sitting towards those upper 70s, well into that oppressive zone, so that means that moisture and humidity is not going anywhere for us right now. So it's the type of conditions you can expect heading out the door at any point today. Temperatures eventually reaching toward those lower 80s for that time period of around 8 o'clock this morning, then starting to approach those upper 80s by 10 o'clock, approaching midday and heading towards the afternoon. Temperatures will by then at that point get towards that range in towards those lower 90s, eventually reaching our afternoon high temperature of 92 degrees. But again, those are our air temperatures. Things will be feeling much hotter than that, with feel like temperatures that are going to be ranging towards those triple digits. Now, right now, waking up this morning, winds are fairly light, really calm, not really having much of a breeze right now at this moment. But over the course of our morning and heading towards the afternoon, we'll see our wind speeds begin to pick up, getting closer towards those double digits. Again, approaching those around 15 to 16 miles an hour over the course of our afternoon, then decreasing for our evening. So we'll start to see lighter wind speeds and then more breezier conditions over the range of our day, heading towards those afternoon hours. Looking at those feel like temperatures temperatures. Like I said, things are going to be feeling muggy and humid here in the coastal bend, so it's going to be represented with our feel like temperatures reaching again towards those triple digits. Thankfully, those lower triple digits not anywhere near toward that criteria necessary for us to see any heat alerts go into effect, but still just enough that you need to make sure you're still practicing heat safety and keeping yourself hydrated to stay safe, because even as we start to go well in towards our evening hours around 6:30 tonight, we'll still see our feel like temperatures around the upper 90s to lower 100s. So again, still going to be feeling like afternoon type conditions here in the coastal bend, even as we approach our evening hours. Now for our rain chances, those will be looking slim to none for us today on our Monday, but they will increase ahead for us tomorrow on Tuesday, just by a bit. Still stray showers in nature, not looking at anything too impressive in terms of rainfall accumulation ahead for us tomorrow or on our Wednesday, but an increase of moisture that's going to come in for us beginning tomorrow that's going to continue into our Wednesday. That's what's going to help us out with our rain chances ahead for us. But even beyond that, daily rain chances will still be in the forecast, even though we're not going to be looking at anything truly significant in terms of our rainfall amounts. But looking at our 7-day forecast, we'll be seeing temperatures again still near average throughout the majority of our work week in those lower 90s. With daily rain chances, they'll be set to continue and maybe improve a bit ahead for this upcoming weekend.
I'm Tony Jaramillo, your neighborhood news reporter on the south side, where new subdivisions are planned, but two developers want to do some downsizing on part of the plan, and it's raising questions on how that will impact future traffic in the area. The plan to downsize several future roads in the London area cleared its first hurdle at City Council, impacting two major developments, Mirabella and Kings Lake West. Instead of 4-lane roads known as C3 collectors, two developers are asking for narrower 2-lane C1 collectors. That means less construction costs and more space for homes. Why? The developers conducted a traffic study, and they say based on the lot size, they predict less traffic in the area. According to the city, a C3 road sees up to 14,000 vehicles a day. A C1, 8,000. Some on council worry that making a change to fit what developers have already designed doesn't take future growth into consideration. The second and final vote on this item is expected to take place on Tuesday, June 24th. On the south side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Ahoy, matey! Red Dragon Pirate Cruises has a new captain on board. I'm Erin Hawley, your Port Aransas neighborhood news reporter, and I'll show you how Captain Poison stands out among the rest.
There's a new pirate ship captain in town. But it may not be the captain you'd imagine.
People just call me Poison, or my close friends call me Poi, or Poise, or Poi Poi.
Yep, that's her. Dale Gonzalez, also known as Captain Poison. She's the Coastal Bend's first ever female pirate ship captain.
I'm 21 years of age.
Not only is she the first female pirate ship captain, also one of the youngest.
Are you guys visiting today? Where are you from? My license is a 100-ton inland license, so I needed 360 days on the water. And then I went to school for 11 days.
Captain Poison says it's not easy.
This ship is 83 tons and somewhere between 60 or 70 feet long.
Aside from the physical challenge, Captain Poison tells me there are also emotional challenges to the job.
It's kind of intimidating because it's definitely a male-dominated field, but specifically working on a dock and around fishing boats that's primarily out here, it's a lot of men.
She still says it feels surreal.
To be able to come out here to Port Aransas and drive a boat and get to be a pirate is really emotional. And I cried the other day on the trip.
Captain Poison says she wouldn't be able to do it without her support system.
I want to tell the world how proud we are of her, and we're so grateful that she works for us.
While she's the only woman around here to captain a ship, she keeps in mind the one man who inspired her career.
Growing up, I was definitely very inspired by Peter Pan and his story. I get to play Peter Pan every day. And take the kids on a treasure hunt and teach them how to sword fight and do all these incredible things. And I say, I make them pirates.
You can catch Captain Poison leading the Red Dragon cruise ship in Port Aransas for the rest of the summer. In Port Aransas, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Erin Hawley, Chris 6 News.
Fun stuff. Thank you so much, Erin. So going out to eat gives us the opportunity to catch up with friends and family, right? And gives us a break from cooking, always a benefit. The prices have really gone up out at restaurants. Scripps News Group consumer reporter John Matarese has the best tips on how to save money on dining out.
Americans love dining out, but it can be a huge expense for families these days. The good news is there are ways to lower that bill, but still have a good experience. Destiny Combs and Elizabeth Saylor are going out less these days.
I just try not to eat out that much.
And ordering less when they do.
We used to, go for appetizer, meal, dessert, drink, all of the things, and now it's like maybe we're not going to order all of that every time.
Welcome to Dining Out in 2025, where both customers and restaurant managers are trying to keep costs down. Chris Breeden says at his restaurant, Arnold's, they've removed some of the priciest items this year.
We don't do the New York strip anymore.
Sean Piles of NerdWallet says saving on dining out starts before you sit down at the table.
Money management's often an exercise in self-control.
Like thinking about what you'd prefer to spend money on and skip what you don't.
So I might have 2 appetizers when I'm going out to eat, but I might skip the cocktail if it doesn't sound good to me that night.
Piles says to think about managing your budget in a different way.
You might say to yourself that I'm only going to go out to eat 3 times per month or 1 time a week, instead of saying, oh, I'm only going to spend $100 out to eat this month.
When it comes to cost-cutting measures, he says, join restaurant loyalty programs or find coupons or discounted gift cards. For families, he says, go to restaurants where kids can eat free or consider sharing a meal. And avoid the traditional, pricey, prefixed holiday dining experience.
Brunch is the big thing for Mother's Day. We decided to go in a completely different direction and went out to a really nice ramen restaurant in town.
And be sure to plan ahead like Brandon Roth.
You can look ahead at menu prices so you're not shocked by the sticker price.
That way you don't waste your money. John Matarese, Scripps News Group.
So here's a question for you. How glued to you are your phones for those news alerts?
Yeah, I know I am. I'm a bit of a newsie, though. But hey, apparently many of us are keeping those at a bit of a distance. A new global survey was done by Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism. 79% of people said that they don't get any news alerts during a typical week. And 43% of respondents say that they've actively disabled such notifications. Researchers found that the prevalence of news alerts has increased significantly over the past decade in many countries. In the U.S., as an example, the proportion of people getting notifications on a weekly basis has grown from 6% to 23% over the past decade. I think that it's a very opportune time to mention that Chris 6 does have our own app, and we do send out those news alerts and notifications.
They're very helpful. I mean, throughout the day, because we work so early, I learn a lot when I see those news alerts, and a lot of times I'm like, man, that's something I really have to read.
Yeah, we have localized neighborhood news alerts, we have the national news alerts, and then, of course, we have the weather alerts, which are very important in our region, giving our propensity to hurricanes, right?
Yes, of course, and we are in the midst of hurricane season, but thankfully things have been very calm over the tropics on the Atlantic part of it. Of course, that's our side, and things have been pretty calm, so we love to see that for sure. Now, what is in the forecast for us is going to be some heat. Thankfully, not dangerous heat. I think we mentioned in the last hour a little bit, we have other parts of the country that are faring way worse than us heat-wise. So see, back at home, as you all know, I'm from Maryland, and they're going to be looking at air temperatures reaching towards the upper 90s with feel like temperatures well into the triple digits. So again, more extreme heat for other portions of the country. So we're getting a bit of a break right now. Again, still going to be hot, but just South Texas version of heat that's just not quite oppressive than we could actually see later on this summer. But right now, looking at our view from our Whataburger Field sky cam, we can get a little bit hints of that sunrise starting to happen, mixtured with that partly cloudy skies that will begin to break apart later on this morning, allowing for more sunshine later on today. But right now, looking at our temperatures, things are going to be off towards a bit of a muggy start, as we can see a little bit of an increase in our feel like temperatures, especially for neighborhoods that are along the coast. So when that includes Port Aransas and over in the Bluff, seeing a bigger discrepancy right now from your feel like temperatures to your air temperatures. But most of us right now sitting with our temperatures reaching towards those upper 70s to low 80s. Now taking a quick look at our Chris 6 neighborhood weather network, getting a view of our neighborhood over on the south side. Again, temperatures reaching towards those lower 80s right now. So again, nothing too intense right now temperature-wise for most neighborhoods across the coastal bend. Now jumping on over towards Flower Bluff, same thing, temperatures reaching towards those lower 80s. But all of us will eventually see those temperatures increase towards those 90s by the time we head towards this afternoon. But what does this all mean for your dog walking forecast? But first, let's go ahead and introduce our star for today. We have Cooper right now looking to be dressed to impress for their dog walk today. Now Now, things will be comfortable for the most part. Maybe a passing stray shower or two that is possible, very on the slim side, so not really likely at this point, but we'll see our temperatures reach towards those 80s over the course of our morning, eventually those upper 80s and low 90s by the time we reach lunchtime. We'll also see a gradual increase with our wind speeds as well. Right now on the lighter side, barely making it towards those double digits, eventually reaching towards around 15, maybe upwards close to 20 miles an hour by the later hours this afternoon. Again, feel like temperatures, that's what's going to feel like to your body heading outside the door. So things will be hot and humid for us, reaching towards those triple digits by lunchtime and heading over the course of our afternoon, then dropping towards those 90s as we get towards around 93 degrees for us by the time we get towards 8 o'clock this evening. So again, things are going to still be muggy for us across the area. Looking at your 7-day forecast, we'll see daily rain chances still sticking around, looking to be better for us as we look ahead towards your Tuesday and your Wednesday with more plumes of moisture that'll come on in from the Gulf. But we'll have to cross our fingers on our rain chances because, of course, I think we can remember last week wasn't so great, so hopefully this week can be a little bit better.
Yeah, just a little bit of a downpour. And hey, we mentioned it earlier on, but we want to officially welcome Julia Quady to the Sunrise Show. Yeah. So her and Stephanie Lauber did switch, so you'll be seeing this lovely face a lot more often. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We really do appreciate it. Hope you have a great week ahead filled with opportunities.
Bye.
Have a good one.